That my friend was a master of disguise should have come as no surprise to me, yet surprise me it did. Over the next 10 days, a strange assortment of characters came in through our door on Baker Street. Each of them would walk into my friend's room, and with a speed that would have done justice to a music hall quick change artist, my friend would walk out. He would not talk what he had been doing on these occasions, preferring to relax and stare off into space, occasionally making notations on any scrap of paper to hand. Notations I found, frankly, incomprehensible. And then, late one afternoon, he came home and asked, "Are you interested in the theatre?" I had expected a light opera, or something of the kind, but instead I found myself in the worst theatre in Drury Lane. On my friend's advice, I concealed my wallet, and following his example, I carried about a stout stick. You should only count yourself lucky that you did not need to accompany me to the gambling dens or the brothels or the madhouses, another place that Prince Franz delighted in visiting, as I have learned. But there was nowhere he went more than once, nowhere. But it was a fine enough show in its way. 3 one-act plays were performed. Comic songs were sung between the acts. The leading man was tall, languid, and had a fine singing voice. The leading lady was elegant, and her voice carried through all the theatre. The comedian had a fine touch for patter songs. The first play was a broad comedy of mistaken identities. The leading man played a pair of identical twins who had never met, but had managed by a set of misadventures each to find himself engaged to be married to the same young lady, who, amusingly, thought herself engaged to only one man. The second play was a heartbreaking tale of an orphan girl who starved in the snow selling hothouse violets. Her grandmother recognized her at the last, and swore that she was the babe stolen 10 years back by bandits. But it was too late, and the frozen little angel breathed her last. The performance finished with a rousing historical narrative. The entire company played the men and women of a village on the shore of the ocean, 700 years before our modern times. They saw shapes rising from the sea in the distance. The hero joyously proclaimed that these were the old ones, as foretold, returning to us from Earlier and from dim Carcosa and from the plains of Leng, where they has slept or waited or passed out the time of their death. The villagers are eating too many pies and drinking too much ale, as they are imagining shapes. Those shapes coming from the sea are monsters and demons. They must be destroyed. No! At the climax, the hero beat the priest to death with his own crucifix and prepared to welcome them as they come. Ah! Oh! The heroine sang a haunting aria whilst in an astonishing display of magic lantern trickery. It seemed as if we saw their shadows cross the sky at the back of the stage. The Queen of Albion herself, and the Black One of Egypt, and the ancient goat, parent to 1,000, emperor of all China, and the Tsar unanswerable, and he who presides over the New World, and the White Lady of the Antarctic fastness, and the others. And as each shadow crossed the stage, or appeared to, from out of every throat in the gallery unbidden came a mighty huzzah, until the air itself seemed to vibrate. The moon rose in the painted sky, and then, at its height, in one final moment of the theatrical magic, it turned from a pallid yellow, as it was in the old tales, to the comforting crimson of the moon that shines down upon us all today. Stout fellow, let us go backstage. I might talk to Mr. Vernet. A woman who had played the heroine's best friend in the first play, and the saucy innkeeper's daughter in the last, pointed us to the end of the room. Sherry Vernet. I do not believe I have had the pleasure. My name is Henry Camberley. You may have heard of me. I must confess that I have not had the privilege. A theatrical promoter from the New World. My. And this is a friend of mine, Mr. Sebastian. He is not of the profession. Oh, congratulations. It was an impressive performance, Miss Vernet. Have you ever visited the New World? I have not yet had that honor, although it has always been my dearest wish. Well, my good man, maybe you'll get your wish. That last play, I've never seen anything like it. Did you write it? Alas, no. The playwright is a good friend of mine, although I devised the mechanism of the Magic Lantern show. You'll not see finer on the stage today. Would you give me the playwright's name? Perhaps I should speak to him directly, this friend of yours. That would not be possible, I am afraid. He is a professional man, and does not wish his connection with the stage to be publicly known. I see. I am sorry. I have forgotten to bring my tobacco pouch. I smoke a strong black shag, but if you have no objection, none. Why, I smoke a strong shag myself. My friend described a vision he had for a play that would tour the cities of the New World. From Manhattan Island all the way to the farthest tip of the continent in the deepest south. The first act could be the play we have seen. The rest of the play might tell of the dominion of the old ones over humanity and all its gods. Perhaps imagining what might have happened if people had no royal families to look up to. A world of barbarism and darkness. But your mysterious professional man would be the play's author, and what occurs would be his alone to decide. Our drama would be his. But I can guarantee you audiences beyond your imaginings, and a significant share of the takings at the door. Let us say 50%? This is most exciting. I hope it will not turn out to have been a pipe dream. No, sir, it shall not. Come to my rooms in Baker Street tomorrow morning after breakfast time, say at 10, in company with your author friend, and I shall have the contracts drawn up and waiting. Ladies and gentlemen of the company, I have an announcement to make. This gentleman is Henry Camberley, the theatrical promoter, and he is proposing to take us across the Atlantic Ocean and on to fame and fortune. Well, it'll make a change from errands and pickled cabbage. My dear fellow, whatever was not another word. There are many ears in the city. There, that's the tall man found, or I'm a Dutchman. Now we just have to hope that the cupidity and curiosity of the limping doctor proves enough to bring him to us tomorrow morning. The limping doctor? That is what I have been calling him. It was obvious from the footprints and much else besides when we saw the prince's body that two men had been in that room that night. A tall man, who, unless I miss my guess, we have just encountered, and a smaller man with a limp, who eviscerated the prince with a professional skill that betrays the medical man. A doctor. Indeed. I hate to say this, But it is my experience that when Doctor goes bad, he is a fouler and darker creature than the worst cutthroat. There was Houston, the acid bath man, and Campbell, who brought the Procrustean bed to Ealing, and he carried on in a similar vein for the rest of our journey. There'll be one in Thames. Much obliged to you both. Odd. Our cabbie just ignored that fellow on the corner. They do that at the end of a shift. Indeed they do. I dreamed of shadows that night, vast shadows that blotted out the sun, and I called out to them in my desperation, but they did not listen.